You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Lyons.
Joshua Bloodworth, General Counsel.
All right. And we also have a special guest with us on virtually as well.
Hi, everyone. Allison Kabir.
Good. And we're going to hear from you shortly with our spotlight presentation. All right. So thank you for the rest of the staff who are with us here today and helping us always in preparation for these board meetings. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the January 16th, 2024 Directors Meeting, which have been circulated. I will move them. Michael seconds them. Are there any comments, additions, or revisions? Hearing none. There is no comments from the public on them either. This motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved. I'm going to call on Hope Knight, our President and CEO, to provide her President's report.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. Greetings from the Southern Tier. I've spent a lot of time over the last month traveling throughout the state to spread the word about Governor Hochul's economic development agenda for the coming year. And I've been able to share some exciting announcements as a part of those events. Yesterday, I was in Endicott to discuss the governor's proposals and to announce that BAE Systems was investing $65 million to expand its operations in the village. The global defense, aerospace, and security company has committed to creating over 130 new jobs. And last week in the Mohawk Valley, we announced the 12 awardees for the $10 million Mohawk Valley Empowers Fund. This is a fund that is supporting workforce development projects in the region that will use community-driven approaches to meet the demands of growing industry sectors. On Friday, I joined OGS Commissioner Jeanette Moy in the downtown Albany bid for a small business tour. Governor Hochul has proposed a $400 million investment in downtown Albany as a part of her executive budget. The tour gave us an opportunity to share more about the governor's plan and to hear directly from small businesses in the target area. Community engagement is paramount in the governor's proposal. The goal is that this once-in-a-lifetime investment not only revitalizes the city, but also reflects the needs and priorities of the people who live, work, and visit downtown Albany. Finally, I was excited to join Governor Hochul for two recent announcements. In late January, the governor announced more than $100 million had been awarded to support projects in pro-housing communities across New York State. These were awarded through the Regional Council Initiative. And this month, Governor Hochul announced that the Capital Region, Mohawk Valley, and Finger Lakes were chosen as the three on-ramp locations. The $200 million on-ramp program was first introduced by the governor last year and expands on our workforce development efforts. These locations join Central New York, where Syracuse has been chosen as the program's flagship location. Together, they will create a network of high-impact centers to connect New Yorkers with careers in advanced manufacturing. So in closing, the ESD team has been very busy. Together, we're working to build a stronger and more affordable state that delivers results for all New Yorkers. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Hope. Any board members have any questions for Hope? All right. Hearing none. Thank you, and we will move on. Next up, we have a corporate action item, and Christy Schwebke, Economic Development Program Specialist for Strategic Business Division, has an item for our consideration.
Good morning. Thank you, Kevin, Hope, and Board of Directors. We are requesting the Director's authorization to amend program guidelines and take related actions relative to the Fast New York Shovel Ready Grant Program. Just for quick context, the program was created in 2022 to provide grants for pre-development activities and infrastructure investments to develop sites that will attract targeted industries to New York State in order to increase New York's attractiveness to large employers and optimize their speed to market. For today's board action, there are two amendments to the program guidelines that we are proposing. The first allows for expanded funding opportunities for pre-development grants where a certain number of acreage exists or a large power user exists. These are both rare circumstances that we find across the state, and we want to allow for applicants in these scenarios to apply for up to $1 million to complete the pre-development work needed at their site. The second amendment is being requested for capital infrastructure improvement projects to allow for acquisition of real property as an eligible use of grant funds. This will allow sites the opportunity to reasonably move forward with shovel readiness efforts prior to purchasing land that they otherwise may not be able to obtain financially. And with that, thank you. And with that, I will take any questions.
All right, thank you, Christy. Again, we're just amending the guidelines that already exist and that we've already approved to address those two items that Christy shared. Do any board members have any questions on that? All right, hearing none. I will move it. John seconds it. There are no comments from the public. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The amendment to the guidelines are approved. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
All right, our spotlight presentation is going to be from Allison Kabir. She's our Senior VP for Policy, Legislative Affairs, and Green Initiatives. And we're going to hear from her on the State of the State economic development proposals that the governor outlined in her State of the State address and in her budget. Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you to the Board of Directors. So I'm going to be providing an overview of the governor's 2026 executive budget proposals as they relate to ESD. Before we get into what has been proposed this year, just a quick table setting on the budget process. So this is an effort that we undertake on an annual basis. We're about midstream of this process. So this really starts in the summer. We're at the agency level. We're collecting ideas from across the division. We're crafting those ideas into proposals that we submit to the governor's office for consideration for the upcoming year. And we are now here in step 3. The governor has delivered the State of the State address. The executive budget documents are live. Everybody is delving in and trying to better understand the details. And the legislature is holding legislative budget hearings to bring commissioners from state agencies and authorities before the legislature to answer questions related to the executive budget proposals. So ESD's Commissioner Knight is going before the legislature on Wednesday for our budget hearing. After that step, the legislature will prepare their own version of a spending plan called a one-house bill. So the Senate will have their own budget, the Assembly will have their own budget. And by the time we get into March, we actually have 3 different versions of a spending plan. But there can be only one. So by the end of March, we reach agreement through negotiations, and the legislature passes that agreed upon spending plan just as they would any other bill, and they deliver it to the governor for signature at the start of the new fiscal year, which of course in New York is April 1st. So this is where we are in this overall process. A couple of themes for this year. We see investments in reshoring manufacturing, growing the innovation economy, building strong, vibrant communities, supporting small businesses, and attracting investment in both legacy sectors and new sectors. So jumping into the substance of what has been proposed for this year, first up, we have Power Up. We like a good acronym, so this is Promote Opportunity with Electric Readiness for Underdeveloped Properties, Power Up. $300 million over 3 years, and the intent is to undertake proactive deployment of power infrastructure at promising shovel-ready sites. The issue that we're primarily trying to solve here is that as manufacturing gets more advanced, as we see next generation industries crop up more than ever, those industries have heightened utility demands, right? So 10 years ago, 5 megawatts was a large power user. ESD is now frequently fielding requests for 50 plus megawatts. So in order to be responsive and to stay competitive, We want to be able to ready the sites with the utility power necessary to attract these businesses. Current process is we oftentimes have to tell a business, we would love to host you in New York, but we need to extend the infrastructure. That will take a little bit of time. Businesses don't always have that time. So the effort here is do it on the front end, make sure the sites are ready so we can invite a business to come in and turn on the lights. Next slide.
Hey, Allison, on that one, are you also coordinating or partnering with New York Power Authority?
We are working with, it's a great question. We're working with Department of Public Service throughout on that proposal. So ESD, of course, has the economic development lens, and DPS has the lens of, the grid infrastructure overall. So we're going to work hand in glove.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have $100 million more in capital for Fast New York to continue our effort to prepare shovel-ready sites. The next initiative is $150 million for the REDCs, and this year we're making a change to focus on larger scale, really transformative projects in the regions.
And Allison, go back for some of the newer board members, the Fast New York. Explain that program, please.
I'm sorry?
Can you explain the Fast New York program, especially for our newer board members?
Fast New York program is an effort wherein we make investments at sites around the state to make sure that they are ready to host an industrial business. So this is to ensure that we have an inventory of sites that are appealing to site selectors when we're talking about bringing in new investment to the state.
And can people use both the Fast New York and the Power Up sites to help get a site ready?
It's another good question. So we could see instances where a site is getting an investment from Fast and an investment from Power Up, depending on who we think the site is well suited for. You could see if it's a lower power user, perhaps a Fast New York investment is sufficient. But for the larger next generation businesses, they could receive both.
Thank you.
Next up, we have several enhancements to the Excelsior tax credit program. So this program, Pay for Performance program, to incentivize investment and new job creation, we're proposing to extend to 2039. And we're proposing a series of enhancements, which we'll delve into in the next few slides. Just quickly, I pulled this information from ESD's public database of economic incentives. And if we look at the return of Excelsior since inception, ESD investment has been approximately 5% to leverage 95% in private sector co-match. So a very successful program, and we want to keep it going. The first enhancement under Excelsior is to create a semiconductor supply chain tier. So we're seeing, of course, in the wake of Micron, there are a lot of supply chain businesses interested in being in the area, but they don't necessarily need to locate in New York to serve Micron. We also are cognizant of the fact that other states have similar programs to attract supply chain partners, and New York should be competitively situated and have our own program to really root supply chain investment here. So this would be enhanced benefits for those supply chain businesses. Wait, go back one. Thank you. The next one is semiconductor R&D program. The effort here is to attract large-scale R&D investment in the semiconductor space. So we're seeing semiconductor businesses make very large investments into R&D to stay on the cutting edge. And what we want to do is capture that investment here. So this is a 15% credit on the capital investment of an R&D facility valued at $100 million plus the cost. So we want to make sure that we're creating an ecosystem, right? We're trying to root the supply chain here. We're trying to root the innovation here. And as we get into the next slide, we're also trying to root the workforce development activities here. So this next piece is $20 million structured as a tax credit for workforce development in the semiconductor and advanced manufacturing spaces. This will cover training, it'll cover wages, it'll cover wraparound services for new workers hired by semiconductor firms and advanced manufacturing firms. So for semi firms that can receive up to 5 million, for advanced manufacturers, they can receive up to 1 million. And the differential is related to the increased costs that semiconductor training usually takes. You know, we're often talking about training on equipment that is $100 million or more. So we structured the program to be responsive in that way.
Hey, Allison, take a break again. I don't know, Hope or Kevin, if this is for you. Given sort of the head spinning changes that come out of Washington on a daily basis, I'm hearing that there's also going to be, movements to eliminate or drastically cut CHIPS funding and all the things that New York State and Governor Hochul has done for CHIPS and all the things that she has proposed. If we haven't done so already, I think we need to arm our New York State delegation, both Republicans and Democrats, and our two senators, with, we're not just looking for handouts from Washington. The state is fully committed in this area, and we've already done this and that, and the governor has proposed, these things as well. And just a suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. The next program is an enhancement of an existing tax credit. It's called the Empire Jobs Retention Program, $30 million per year. And the intent is to support businesses that are impacted by a storm. So we're expanding the program to be more responsive to the types of storms that we're seeing and to just reduce the barriers to entry. The current program has some strict limitations on who is eligible, so we're proposing to remove those and just make it easier for businesses to receive support after a disaster. So this will provide a credit on employee wages for a period of 6 months after the governor has declared an emergency in the county where the business resides. So the enhancements that we're seeking allow small businesses to participate for the first time. Current iteration of the program is only businesses with 100 or more employees are eligible. We'd like to change that. The current program offers benefits for 10 years. We're suggesting to tighten that to 6 months. FEMA will say that the first 6 months after disaster is the most critical for supports. Otherwise, we see businesses close during that very vulnerable period. Allow businesses in all sectors to participate. The current program has limitations on which sectors are permissible. And we're also proposing to tie the benefit to the business size, with the smallest businesses receiving the highest benefit tier. Catalyst, another acronym, companies attracting talent to advance leading innovations and scale technologies in New York. So this is $200 million for a new tax credit to support early stage innovation businesses. What we're aiming to address is salaries, especially in STEM fields, have increased drastically in the last 5 years. If you look at the data, some of these salaries have increased anywhere from 15 to 70%. Makes it very difficult for an early stage business to hire top talent. So what we want to do is offset those hiring costs and leverage the expertise of our incubators around the state. So incubators, we can offer a personal income tax benefit for 5 years to promising early stage innovation businesses that have completed a course with a New York State incubator. So it's basically a two-step process. First, the incubators are selected to participate in Catalyst. Then the businesses that have completed training with the incubator are selected for 5 years. Harmony AI, helping achieve representation of more New Yorkers in AI. What we're aiming to do here is to avoid the creation of another digital divide as AI takes off as a new and emerging sector. So we have 3 elements. We have a workforce program to make sure that students from all backgrounds have access to cutting edge AI careers and training and mentorship. That's called AI Prep. Small business support, we want to make sure that small businesses who often say, I know I should be incorporating AI, I just don't really know where to start, leverage the EAC, Entrepreneurship Assistance Center network that ESD invests in to provide targeted AI training to small businesses across the state. And the last piece, make sure that businesses from all backgrounds at their earliest stages have access to venture funding. We're going to leverage $10 billion from the ESD Ventures program, matched by $10 million from IBM and from Armory Square Ventures, for a total of $20 million going to small innovation AI-focused startups in New York. And I should mention IBM and Armory Square Ventures are founding members of the Governor's Emerging Technology Advisory Board.
Very cool. So we have Power Up, Catalyst, and Harmony. Do we have a division of acronyms here?
We do. It's headed by Elizabeth Morrissey, isn't it?
Yes, pretty much. Yes, she's your acronym queen.
Very impressive. Thank you.
And the next one is Link, formerly or also known as the Link Deposit Program, another very successful program that we are seeking to enhance. Essentially, we want to increase the spending limitation. It's currently 560. We want to raise that to $1 billion because the program has been so successful in recent years as we grapple with high borrowing rates at the national level. So we want to make sure we have funding available to keep making these loans to small businesses and mid-sized manufacturers. So Link Deposit, or now Link, can offer a 3% reduction on a borrowing rate for either a small business or a mid-sized manufacturer. And if we look at the numbers, they're great. We've helped 6,000 businesses. We've issued $2 billion in loans, and that $2 billion has leveraged $4 billion in private investment. And as the commissioner mentioned, an Albany plan, and as the governor has been saying, through this plan, for the first time in the city's long history, Albany will have a true partner in New York State. This is $400 million for community development investments to revitalize downtown Albany. Within that 400, there's funding to revitalize the New York State Museum. There's $200 million to be invested in projects across downtown. And in general, the motivation is to create new reasons to work, visit, or live in downtown. We plan to take a holistic approach, engage with stakeholders throughout, and make direct investments into the community. Empire AI expansion, the governor has advanced a proposal for an additional $90 million in capital to support the Empire AI initiative, which is fostering cutting-edge research to expand AI for the public good. This initiative was included as part of last year's budget. It's been so successful that there are other interested schools, and so to be able to support that expansion, the governor is proposing $90 million to expand the project. And last but certainly not least, we have changes to the film program to make sure that New York remains competitive. There are many changes proposed, but they broadly fall into these categories. The first category, address timing issues, just pay businesses faster. The second category, support the independence and enhance the program to be responsive to the unique circumstances of the independent filmmakers. And thirdly, address competitive disadvantages, make several technical changes to make sure that we are being responsive to changes in the larger industry. I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you again to the board for the time.
Thank you, Allison. Allison, other than what the governor has proposed in her budget and the state of the state, is there any other legislation floating out there from the Senate or the Assembly that could, that we're keeping an eye on, that could either positively or negatively impact the ESD?
The short answer is yes. We are always keeping an eye on that, and we suspect some of these things will appear in one House budgets, and we're already taking a look at those details.
Great, thank you. Any board members have any other questions for Allison?
Can the directors get a copy of the PowerPoint deck? I thought it was really good.
Yep. You hear Allison, if you get that to Debbie, and Debbie could circulate the PowerPoint to the board members?
Happy to.
Great. All right.
Hey.
Yes?
Hi, it's Francine.
Hi, Francine.
Just as an update, I guess, going forward, we'll get a final assessment after the budget is passed, hopefully in April.
Yes,
Yes,
and
happy to.
we have a board meeting coming up on March 27th, which will be usually the heavy-duty negotiation week of historically state budgets. So we may know a little bit more at our next meeting. And then if the budget is adopted after our next meeting, yeah, then we'll get a briefing from Hope and others as to what was included at the April meeting. Do we meet in April?
Yeah.
No, or the May meeting. Thanks, Francine.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again, Allison. All right, let's continue now with the agenda. We're going to go to the projects, and we're going to start, as we always do, in Western New York. Karen Utz, our Regional Director for ESD's Western New York region, has an item for us.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Law. The directors are requested to approve a $519,448 grant to S. St. George Enterprises, Inc. from Round 11 Regional Council Capital Funds toward a $7,023,889 project to fully restore the White Inn, Verdonia's only hotel and upscale restaurant and banquet facility, which operated for nearly 100 years before closing in 2017. I will also note that today's agenda includes a request to approve a Restore New York grant to Chautauqua County that also supports this project. This project will retain 55 jobs and create 12 new full-time permanent positions. And with that, I'll be happy to take questions.
Great, thank you, Karen. Any board members have any questions on this item? We did not receive any comments from the public. So I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
New York City region, we have two items, two presenters, and two separate votes. We'll first call on Michael Alverley for the first item, and then Joe Taswell is here. I think both are here with us today. All right, so Michael, you're up first.
Thank you. Good morning. The directors are being asked to approve a $2 million loan to Milford Street Association Captive Insurance Company. Founded in 2023, Milford Street Association is an insurance captive that provides a reasonable alternative to securing general liability insurance coverage for New York affordable housing properties. The captive is made up of and owned by the Milford Street Association LLC, which is in turn wholly owned by its members, all of whom are either affordable housing operators or owners, and act as the premium payers and insureds under the captive program. In keeping with affordable housing insurance requirements, Milford Street Association secures its general liability insurance coverage for its members with limits of up to $1 million per occurrence from an AM Best A- rated insurer. However, to secure lower premiums, the captive agrees to cover claims from $0 to $500,000, and the third-party insurer covers the remaining claims from $500,000 to $1 million. Under this structure, captive members are able to secure coverage unburdened by the price volatility and increasing premiums of the private insurance market. Long-term benefits are expected for both captive members and their New York City tenants. Lowering and stabilizing premiums will free up funding that can go towards necessary maintenance costs of properties covered under the captive. ESD made an offer of assistance to the captive in the form of a potential $2 million loan for a 5-year term at an annual interest rate of 2% per annum, payable at maturity. ESD's loan assistance will be used to cover a portion of captive membership costs with the intent will strengthen the efficacy and long-term sustainability of the captive. In exchange for the loan, the captive has committed to securing general liability coverage for 4,000 additional New York City affordable housing residential units. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Michael. So, yeah, this is new, it's creative. A couple of questions, maybe for you or Josh. This is a loan, so we will not be construed as any type of ownership interest in this fund, and thus may be subject to claims against us in the future.
No.
You
it
feel
is
good
a
about
loan.
that?
Yes, it is a straight loan.
Straight loan.
Yeah.
So we will not be a part of this, what do we call it, offshore carrier or
Captive.
captive?
Yeah, no,
Captive.
we will have no equity interest or ownership interest in it.
Got it, very good. And then, once we issue the loan, they will be able to help other developers of affordable housing obtain lower insurance.
Correct. The purpose of our loan is to lower the capital membership cost to enter into the captive. And so our loan will lower those costs and will make the captive more competitive. And so in theory, the captive will grow with more members due to our loan.
And this is the first time it's being done in New York.
Correct.
But is it being done anywhere else in the country?
I believe it is, yes. I believe in Vermont. I know that's one area. I don't know more off the top of my head, but yes.
It would be great if we just monitor this, because I could tell you firsthand, insurance costs for market rate projects, any type of projects, have just been skyrocketing for the last 5 years. And every increase in a deal makes it that more challenging for a project to pencil out, given the uncertainties in the capital markets. And with all the hurricanes in Florida and North Carolina, Southwest, and then, of course, the fires in California, we're all bracing for even higher increases in the insurance world. So if this is a success for the affordable developers, it may be something cool the state pursues to help also on the market rate side, because the governor has been correct when she talks about we got to increase the supply of housing in all categories: homeless housing, low-income housing, affordable housing, workforce housing, market rate housing. The more the supply, the better. So be interesting. Hopefully this works. It sounds creative, so good luck with it. Do any board members have any questions?
This is just a reminder.
Benson, this is the one you're recusing yourself on?
Yeah, I have another one later on, but I'm recusing myself from this one too.
Got it. Okay, so let the record reflect that. We don't have any comments from the public on this item. So I will move this. Francine, you want to second it?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? The motion carries. Thank you, Michael. All right, Joe, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. This is a request for the approval of a regional council capital grant of $3,544,000 to the Studio Museum in Harlem, a nonprofit art museum that, since 1968, has been a nexus for artists of African descent locally, nationally, and internationally, and for work that has been inspired and influenced by Black culture. The grant will be used in connection with the $169.4 million cost to construct its new 82,000 square foot building located at 144 West 125th Street in Harlem, the same site as its former building. The expanded facility will elevate the Studio Museum's offerings to students, artists, and the Harlem community, and is expected to attract over 300,000 visitors annually, a six-fold increase from its prior building. As a result of the project, the Studio Museum, which has 71 existing jobs, is expected to create 40 new jobs. In addition, 1,600 construction workers were employed during construction. The project was completed this past December and will open later this fall. The project was designated as a priority by the New York City Regional Council in REDC Round 8 and is in alignment with the state and regional strategies in support of placemaking, downtown revitalization, and workforce development. I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Joe? All right, we don't have any comments from the public. I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. All right, Simone Bethune, our Senior Project Manager and Coordinator. Is somebody question? No. Simone Bethune, our Senior Project Manager and Coordinator of Projects for Loans and Grants, has some items for us.
Thank you. We're seeking director's approval for around $1.1 million Restore New York grant to the town of Orleans in the North Country region. The town will use funding to renovate a vacant 9,240 square foot building constructed in the late 1800s into a modern mixed-use building containing 4,620 square feet of commercial space and 4 market-rate apartment units. Construction began in April 2024 and will complete in March 2025. The town will contribute approximately $300,000 in equity to the $3.2 million project. For the second item, we're seeking director's approval for around $1,250,000 grant to Chautauqua County in the Western New York region for renovation of the White Inn, a former hotel and restaurant. This grant complements a $519,448 Round 11 Regional Council Capital Fund Award being made to St. George Enterprises, the beneficiary and owner of the project building, which was presented earlier in the meeting by Karen Utz. In November 2024, the county oversaw renovations to the vacant Century Plus old building known as the White Inn, located at 52 East Main Street. Working with the beneficiary and owner, St. George Enterprises, the county restored the building into a luxury hotel with 25 rooms and a banquet facility. The owner has invested approximately $5.1 million in equity to the $7 million project. And I can take any questions.
Simone, I thought Karen called it the St. George's Hotel, and this is, you're calling it the White Inn. Is one the old name or one the new name?
Right, the White Inn is the original.
The new name?
The vacant building.
The vacant one. Oh,
right.
and then it'll become St. George's.
Right.
Got it, thanks. Anybody have any questions for Simone? We have no comments from the public on these two items either, so I will move it. Hope seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Simone, continue with at the direction of projects.
Thank you. At the direction of grants, refer to those commitments listed in the New York State budget that enhance the state's communities through cultural, educational, research and development, and civic organizations. These projects originate from the governor or the New York State Assembly or Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding. ESD does not select the recipients of funding. For the first item, we're seeking director's modification of a previously approved grant to the Hip Hop Museum for the first museum in the world dedicated to the preservation and celebration of hip hop history and culture. On November 16, 2023, ESD's Board of Directors approved $11 million to be funded from the Special Capital Appropriation Fund at the direction of the Executive Chamber. The board is now being asked to modify the previous project plan to include an additional $10 million fiscal year 2024-25 special capital appropriation, also being made available at the direction of the Executive Chamber for a total award to the museum of $21 million. The Hip Hop Museum will build a 52,000 square foot state-of-the-art cultural institution occupying the first 2 floors of Bronx Point, an expansive mixed-use development spanning approximately 530,000 square feet along the Harlem River waterfront, which will include 540 units of permanently affordable housing and 2.8 acres of open space. The initial design work has commenced and construction is slated to begin in Q2 of 2025, with the project expected to be fully complete in Q3 2026. For the second item, we are seeking director's approval for a $10 million grant to the National Urban League, a nonpartisan historic civil rights organization based in New York City, for fit-out construction of its new headquarters at 117 West 125th Street. Funding was made available at the direction of the Executive Chamber in fiscal year 2018-2019 from the New York Works Economic Development Fund. Founded officially in 1920, the National Urban League is the oldest and largest community-based organization of its kind in the nation, dedicated to economic empowerment, equality, and social justice. This project is part of a wider mixed-use development at the site, which once complete will include National Urban League's new headquarters, a civil rights museum, a conference center, retail space, and 114 units of housing, 100% of which would be affordable. Groundbreaking for the $41 million construction began in 2021. National Urban League's headquarters will complete fit-out in March 2025, and the headquarters are set to open in June 2025. For the third item, we are seeking director's approval for a $350,000 Local Assistance Assembly Award to Regional Alliance for Small Contractors, made available in fiscal year 2024-2025 at the direction of Assembly Member Carl E. Hasty of the 83rd District. The Regional Alliance for Small Contractors is a New York City-based not-for-profit organization with over 30 years of experience of fostering business growth and development. Funds will be used to support programming and operational services focused on assisting the development of minority and women-owned business enterprises and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, with cutting-edge business courses and trainings, workforce development, and other related supportive services. The organization will apply the funding to its operations through August 2025. And I can take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Simone. Anybody have any questions for Simone on any of these at the direction of projects? There are none. We have no comments from the public on these items either. I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Simone. All right, next up, Office of Strategic Workforce Development, Christina Lopez, our Deputy Director.
Thank you. The directors are being requested to approve the release of funding for the Office of Strategic Workforce Development's Pay for Performance Operating Grant Program to Pursuit Transformation Company, Inc. in the amount of $1 million. Pursuit Transformation Company, Inc. applied for a Pay for Performance Operating Grant through the Office of Strategic Workforce Development's Grant Funding Program. Based on the recommendation of the office and the ESD Commissioner, an incentive proposal was signed agreeing to provide $1 million in funding. This grant will allow Pursuit Transformation Company, Inc. to provide a one-year pre-apprenticeship program where participants will learn about the technical aspects of software development. This competency-based training program is composed of levels 1 and 2, or core, foundational modules that take 8 to 10 months to complete, designed to develop participant skills and knowledge from no coding experience to job-ready software engineers. Level 3, or the Employment Accelerator, is a final module that shifts focus to securing a first job as a software engineer. Fellows reinforce fundamentals, progress to advanced skills in AI applications, and practice behavioral and technical interviewing skills. Level 3 takes 3 months to complete. Wraparound services such as financial literacy, budgeting, benefit management, and career coaching will also be provided. We are recommending that the board authorize the release of funds for Pursuit Transformation Company, Inc. to carry out this project. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Christina. Any questions? None. No comments from the public. I will move it. John Wang seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Christina. All right, we have Josh Breitbart. He's here with us today. He's our Senior VP for Connect All.
Thank you, Chair, Directors, President Knight, for the opportunity to bring this matter to you today. The Connect All office is requesting that the directors authorize 2 grant awards and the corresponding general project plans for projects through our municipal infrastructure program. This program is funded through an award from the U.S. Department of Treasury's Capital Projects Fund. As noted in the materials provided, the 2 grants are for a total not to exceed amount of $39,131,088 to construct broadband infrastructure to serve over 12,000 locations in Franklin and Oswego counties. These projects are consistent with ConnectAll's mandate to develop a robust internet marketplace that delivers affordable and reliable service equitably across the state. As a reminder, the board approved the guidelines of this program in September 2023 and has previously approved a total of 9 projects totaling approximately $159.7 million in meetings in September, December, and most recently in January. With the approval of these two awards today, the total amount for the projects approved by the board will be $198,845,373.30 to serve approximately 60,000 locations across 15 counties. The individual grantees, grant amounts, and project descriptions for today's awards are enumerated in the director's materials. I'm happy to take any questions.
And so, Josh, what was the original pot of monies we received? I just heard you mention what's been spent and how much is left.
Yeah, so the original award announcement was for approximately 228 million. And so if with the approval today, the total amount that the board will have approved will be approximately 199 million.
About 30 or so left.
Yeah, so we continue to work through projects that have been submitted and opportunities to continue the program.
Are you hearing anything? Are there any efforts in Washington to claw this money back or terminate this program, or do we feel pretty good that a lot of these dollars are already out the door and the rest will soon be out?
We feel confident in this funding award, which was identified in the American Rescue Plan Act and specifically for the state of New York, and we've already taken on these obligations and are proceeding with the program and continue to draw down through the normal course of business and cash management practices.
Great to hear that. Anybody else have any questions for Josh? All right, we don't have any comments from the public on this either, so I will move it. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Next up, we have two items, two presenters, two separate votes regarding New York Ventures. The first item is going to be Jennifer Teagan, and I believe this is one that Benson is also recusing himself on. So Debbie, let the record reflect Benson's recusal. And Jennifer, you're up.
Good morning, directors. We request that the directors authorize an investment commitment from the State Small Business Credit Initiative Emerging and Regional Partner Program Fund. This is the $102 million program using federal SSBCI funding to invest in venture capital fund managers who subsequently use that capital to then invest in multiple New York State-based startups alongside private capital. Today, we propose investing in Neon for up to $8 million. Neon is a New York City-based venture capital firm that invests in high-growth startups that deliver value for patients at the intersection of healthcare and consumer. Neon is led by a woman partner who has deep expertise in healthcare ventures. After more than a decade of experience investing in and founding healthcare and consumer companies, that partner is launching her first fund. New York Ventures conducted due diligence on Neon and concluded that investing in this fund will help support the innovation ecosystem in New York and recommends that the directors authorize this investment. And I'll take any questions.
Right, and I always ask this, and just so all the board members are clear about it. We're taking federal funds, come to ESD, then we're giving them to a venture capital firm, and then the venture capital firm will invest those monies in startup companies.
Correct.
Got it. Very good. And these are investments, and so to the extent there's any upside, New York State can participate in some of that.
Correct.
Got it.
We do. We plow it back into our program funds.
Great. All right. Anybody have any questions for Jennifer on that? All right. We don't have any comments from the public, so I will move it. I see Francine wants to second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. That motion carries. Thank you, Jennifer. Sylvia Codeny, she's our Assistant VP for Venture Capital Fund. She has an item for us as well.
Thank you. Today we are asking the directors for approval of a follow-on investment of up to 1.5 million in Kintra Fibers. The New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund has previously invested 1 million in this company, so the total investment will bring us to 2.5 million. Kintra Fibers is a Brooklyn-based material science company and has developed a bio-based and biodegradable fibers that are an alternative to fossil fuel materials such as polyester. The apparel done with Kintro fibers can degrade, and once discarded, it avoids microfiber pollution of our oceans. This financing round will support the company in the scale-up of manufacturing and for commercial launch. As part of the due diligence process, the New York Ventures in Innovation Venture Capital Fund staff and the External Advisory Committee has both evaluated the company, the business plan, growth prospects, and the terms of the investment. As a result of this analysis, both the staff and the IAC are agreeing that this is a market opportunity and growth potential that warrants an investment and recommends its approval. I'll take any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Sylvia? Hearing none, there are no comments from the public. So I will move it. Hope seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Sylvia. All right. We have an item involved in the 42nd Street Land Use Improvement Project. And we have Joy Huang, our Director of Real Estate Development and Planning.
Thank you, Chair Law. Good morning, directors. We are today requesting the directors to authorize the various steps needed at this time to implement the proposed 5 Times Square residential conversion project located in the heart of Times Square on 7th Avenue between 41st Street and 42nd Streets. The proposed project will facilitate the adaptive reuse of the near vacant commercial building and transform it into a thriving mixed-use residential rental development. The project site was designated as Site 4 in the 1981 42nd Street Land Use Improvement Project General Project Plan, or as we refer it, the 42nd Street GPP, which was amended through November 2006, in which the main goal of the improvement project was to eliminate the blight and physical decay that had characterized the West 42nd Street area. The proposed conversion project aims to address the city and state's housing crisis by providing critically needed rental housing units, including income-restricted rental units. Furthermore, this project is among the first to utilize housing policies adopted in Governor Hochul's fiscal year 2025 enacted budget to enable such conversion projects, including the lifting of the 12 FAR cap for residential use and the New York State Property Tax Law Section 467M, providing tax exemptions to office residential conversion projects that meet certain affordability requirements. This building is situated on this site as a 38-story commercial office building of approximately 960,056 gross square foot. That was originally a build-to-suit office headquarters for Ernst & Young, which vacated the premises in 2022. Since then, the project site has experienced vacancy rates that are well above the average in the city and in Times Square. The building currently sits 77% vacant, with a few office tenants on the upper floors and some existing ground floor retail tenants. The site is adjacent to the New Amsterdam Theater and is owned currently by the City of New York through the city's Economic Development Corporation, or EDC. The site is leased with an option to purchase to a joint partnership between RXR Realty and Apollo Global Real Estate Management, GP LLC. The proposed project will result in approximately 745 gross square feet of office to be converted for residential uses, while retaining up to 37,311 gross square feet of retail space. Residential use on site will be permitted to exceed the 12 FAR cap up to a maximum of 32.7 FAR. The construction will be phased to allow for the retention of some office tenants until the end of their lease. ESD staff completed a determination of responsibility for each of the entities that make up the development team and found that each member of the development team to be a responsible party. The proposed project will include up to 1,250 units that is split between 1,050 studio units and 200 one-bedroom units, with 25% of the total units amounting to approximately 313 units to be made permanently affordable for households earning up to 80% of the area median income. Residential amenities totaling at least 55,000 gross square feet include active recreational uses such as a gym, a sports court, a pool, and a dog run. So to facilitate the proposed project, ESD must override the New York City zoning resolution in accordance with the UDC Act. The MGPP provides for an amendment to the design, use, and operating requirements, shortened as the DUO, that specify the parameters for permitted development of the project in lieu of zoning. ESD has worked with the city in amending this DUO, and the project will be subject to monitoring and compliance by both city and the state. An executed cost agreement between ESD and the developer is in place, where the developer is responsible for payment of ESD's costs associated with the proposed project. Both the city and the state, through the Economic Development Corporation, have worked together to coordinate the necessary obligations that govern the site. It is anticipated that the developer will exercise the option to purchase the site prior to commencement of construction. All restrictive covenants, including the theater surcharge that accompanies the site, will continue to persist following the conversion. The city intends to approve the draft DUO amendment and would record or cause to be recorded an instrument setting forth the final version, as well as record an instrument against the multiple dwelling lot providing light and air for dwelling units in the proposed project. Additionally, ESD, the city, and the developer intends to enter into a binding agreement termed the redevelopment agreement to require the proposed project to comply with the final version of the draft DUO amendment and other matters such as affordability requirements set forth in this MGPP and ESD's non-discrimination policy. ESD and its consultants have prepared an environmental assessment of the proposed project under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which concluded that the project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to the environment. Following the director's adoption of the MGPP, ESD shall conduct a public hearing in accordance with the UDC Act to inform the public about the proposed project and to receive and consider public comments. After the public hearing is held and the subsequent 30-day public comment period is concluded, we will review and evaluate any substantive negative public comments or testimony and request that the directors to affirm or modify the GPP at that time. Today, we seek the director's approval to adopt statutory findings for the project as a land use improvement under the UDC Act, adopt the proposed amendments to the general project plan, make a determination of no significant effect on the environment under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, authorize a public hearing under Sections 6 and 10 of the UDC Act, authorization to execute redevelopment agreement, and to authorize all related actions. Pending approval, the developer will begin conversion of the existing building by the end of this year, 2025, with expected completion and full occupancy by 2027, delivering a significant supply of housing and affordable housing to Midtown Manhattan. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Great. Joy, question for you first. Is this the first time you presented to us at the board?
Correct, it is.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
It was very thorough, followed you all along the way, so very good job. Can you refresh my recollection? What's the address? Is this 4 Times Square, 5 Times
This is
Square?
5 Times Square.
This is 5.
Where the Red Lobster and the Miniso is in Times Square.
Got it. And does RXR and Apollo own it now, or are they in contract to buy it and to convert it?
They are a tenant under a lease that is held by the EDC, to the city.
Through the city?
Yes.
But now we're going to actually, with the amendment.
No. So the city still owns the site, and until the developers, which is RXR and Apollo, exercise the option to purchase the site, the city will still retain ownership.
That, you answered my question before I asked this. That's it. Okay, now I follow that. Terrific. And the whole thing will be converted into residential.
It will be mixed use. It will be phased so that there will be mostly residential with some top floor office tenants retained. I think it's Roku and maybe some other smaller tenants. And then at the expiration of those tenants' leases, their hope is to then convert the remainder of the building to residential.
Got it. Great. And we're working hand in hand with New York City Economic Development as well.
Correct.
Great. Terrific. Anybody else have any questions for Joy? We don't have any comments from the public. So I will move this. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion's approved. Good job again. Thank you, Joy. Okay, we're getting close. Another significant project. Next up is the Bayview Correctional Facility Redevelopment Project. Ethan Sander, our project associate for real estate development and planning. Ethan, floor is yours.
Thank you, and good morning. Today, we are requesting the directors to authorize the various steps needed at this time to implement the proposed Bayview Correctional Facility Redevelopment Project. The proposed project is a transformative initiative to redevelop the former Bayview Correctional Facility at 550 West 20th Street into a sustainable mixed-use development. The project aims to address the city and state's housing crisis by providing critically needed income-restricted housing opportunities and community spaces. To address the state's initiatives to repurpose unused, publicly owned properties, ESD issued a competitive request for proposals in 2023 to solicit redevelopment plans for the site. By June 2024, ESD conditionally designated a development team comprising of 51% nonprofit ownership led by the Osborne Association and Camber Development Group. Their proposal, called Liberty Landing, features a dynamic plan to adaptively reuse the vacant correctional facility, formerly known as the Siemens House YMCA, built in 1932 and eligible to be listed on the state's list of historic resources. The plan includes up to 147 income-restricted units and ground floor community space in a 15-story, 150,000 square foot building. The project also highlights the successful partnership between ESD and the Office of Mental Health, featuring a 15-bed short-term transitional housing space on the third floor. ESD staff has completed a determination of responsibility for each of the entities that make up the development team and found each member of the development team to be a responsible party. The proposed project will include up to 147 units with approximately 108 studio, 21 one-bedroom, and 17 two-bedroom apartments, approximately 20,000 square feet of community facility spaces, the adaptive reuse of culturally significant aspects of the existing structure, and significant economic benefits for Chelsea, creating approximately 230 direct and 460 indirect construction-related jobs. To facilitate the project, ESD must override the New York City zoning resolution in accordance with the UDC Act. The GPP provides for design guidelines that specify the parameters for permanent development of the project in lieu of zoning. We have consulted with the City Planning Commission about the proposed project and zoning overrides and anticipate receiving a letter of recommendation from the Commission prior to ESD board affirmation. As explained in the GPP, ESD will convey the project site to the developer for no cash consideration. ESD is not financing the project, but financing is anticipated to be provided from both private and public sources. ESD and its consultants have prepared an environmental assessment of the project under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which concluded that the project will not result in any significant adverse impacts to the environment. Following the director's adoption of the GPP, ESD is legally required to conduct a public hearing to inform the public about the proposed project and to receive and consider public comments. After the public hearing is held and the subsequent 30-day public comment period is concluded, we will review and evaluate any negative public comments and request that the directors affirm or modify the GPP at that time. Today, we seek the directors' approval to adopt statutory findings for the project as a land use improvement under the UDC Act, adopt the proposed general project plan, make a determination of no significant effects on the environment under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, authorize a public hearing under Sections 6 and 10 of the UDC Act, and authorize all related actions. Pending approval, the developer will begin construction within 3 months of title transfer. The project is expected to be completed by 2028, delivering sustainable, income-restricted housing opportunities and community resources to Chelsea. I'll take your questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ethan. You've been here before, or
No.
Is it your first time too?
Yes, sir.
Excellent job. Yeah, Art, and you're building up a great team. New young professionals. So a very good job too, Ethan. With the RFP that we put out for this, did we require the developer to do the adaptive reuse because of the historical significance, or did they suggest to us it'd be cheaper for them to demolish it and build new?
No, it was a significant requirement of the RFP, and it was the reason for the selection, one of them.
Very good. And the developer is
Is a partnership.
Osborne and who?
Yeah, Osborne and the Canberra Development Group partnership.
Very good. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Ethan? All right. We don't have any comments from the public on this, so I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Good job, guys. All right. So we're now going to go to the administrative action items presented in summary format with Doug Janice, our Senior Counsel, Corporate and Real Estate. Doug?
Thank you, Chairman Law, and good morning, directors. As a reminder, in order to help streamline our board meetings, we implemented an oral summary presentation process, as the Chairman just described, for the administrative actions section of our agenda. So you received a full set of the written descriptive materials for each of these items in your board materials. But rather than having individual oral presentations made on each, I will provide a brief summary of the items, and then at the conclusion, we can entertain any questions or comments the directors may have before you vote. The 4 February administrative action items are summarized as follows. Item 9A is relative to the disposition of the Butler Correctional Facility to the Wayne County Industrial Development Agency. The board is being asked to authorize the transfer of the former Butler Correctional Facility in Wayne County to the Wayne County IDA to generate a new economic development opportunity at the site. The Butler Correctional Facility is a former minimum/medium security prison that closed in 2014 and is owned by ESD. In 2022, Governor Hochul formed the Prison Redevelopment Commission to generate economic activity on the sites of closed correctional facilities, and ESD has been diligently pursuing those opportunities. ESD has been working with Wayne County, the Wayne County IDA, and local stakeholders to redevelop the site. Pursuant to a competitive RFP issued by the Wayne County IDA, Westbury Lumber, a neighboring lumberyard, was selected to redevelop the site. As part of the redevelopment plan, Wayne County IDA is seeking transfer of the site from ESD for $1, with plans to immediately transfer the site to Westbury Lumber to permit it to occupy the site and expand its existing business operations. Staff is therefore seeking authorization to make the disposition and take all related actions. Item 9B is relative to the establishment of a pre-qualified real estate development and planning appraiser consultants list. The board is being asked to authorize the establishment of a pre-qualified list of appraisal firms. The previous list of pre-qualified appraisal firms has expired, and staff has conducted a broad competitive solicitation of interested firms in order to compile and adopt a new list, which is now recommended for adoption for a period of 4 years. Staff requested proposals from appraisal firms across the state and conducted a significant outreach initiative to ensure as many qualified firms as possible would respond. 11 firms ultimately responded to the solicitation and were evaluated by a review committee consisting of 4 ESD staff, including 1 attorney. Based on that review, staff is recommending the approval of the firms listed on the attachment to this item as pre-qualified appraisal firms for the corporation. Item 9C is relative to authorization to enter into a contract with Savoca Enterprises, Inc. for the New York State MWBE Business Growth Accelerator Program design and implementation for the Capital District and Mohawk Valley regions. The MWBE's division's business development has launched the 3rd edition of the New York State MWBE Business Growth Accelerator Program, or PGA 3.0, a $2 million initiative to empower 250 minority and women-owned business enterprises across 8 regions. 3 consultants were previously selected from an initial request for proposals in July of 2024 to provide intensive training, mentoring, one-on-one coaching, and technical assistance to 200 MWBEs in 6 regions for a total award of $1.6 million. Subsequently, a new RFP was issued to serve 50 MWBEs in the Capital District and Mohawk Valley regions, focusing on growth-oriented MWBEs in the construction services, construction consulting, and semiconductor fabrication construction trades. BGA 3 is a cornerstone of the division's commitment to drive economic growth, create jobs, and enhance MWBE participation in high-growth industries in New York State. The contract will have a term of 18 months and an amount not to exceed $400,000. And finally, item 9D is relative to authorization to amend the contract with STV Inc. to continue to provide environmental consulting services in connection with the Kingsborough Psychiatric Center mixed-use project. This request is for authorization to amend the contract with the firm STV Inc. to continue to provide environmental consulting services in compliance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, in connection with the Kingsborough mixed-use project. The contract will be extended by 12 months through November 2025, an additional cost of $97,089, including contingencies, bringing the total contract amount to $1,836,906, which will continue to be funded from the impressed account by the project developer, funded by the project developer. Sorry. With that, I will now turn it back to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. And we also have item-related staff on the line today to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Anybody have any comments or questions for Doug on any of these items? Hearing none. We have no comments from the public. So I will move it. John Wong seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. That concludes our official business for our February meeting. Does any board member have any other business they'd like to raise at this time? Hearing none. Our next meeting is going to be Thursday, March 27th. And remember, that's the 4th Thursday of the month, not the 3rd Thursday of the month. So we'll meet on the 27th here. And that concludes our business for today. I will move to adjourn. Lorraine seconds it. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.